welcome back to the Childhood Cancer Perspective, and thank everybody so much for sticking with me through all of these episodes as I continue to detail the journey of our daughter JC being diagnosed with a rare form of brain cancer, and after a 520-day battle, she laid her sword down on July 3rd of 2021. I have used this podcast as a way to share stories from behind the scenes as a parent's perspective and also with my children as a sibling perspective. So now I'm having the opportunity to share it with my good friend Coral here to share her story and talk a little bit about her perspective as well. So without further ado, this is my good friend Coral. You can introduce yourself and just talk as much as you'd like.
Okay, my name is Coral. Everybody knows me as Luna's mom. Luna was my daughter. She is my daughter. She was diagnosed at 3.5 with DMG, diffuse midline glioma, in September of 2022. And she passed this past June 2023. She fought for nine months. And it's been hard. And like I always say, I never thought that we were going to be thrown into this world. It's, as a parent, it's not something that you think about. You think about becoming a parent and having your kids, seeing them go off to school, and all of a sudden you're hit and forced into this world that you don't know anything about. And now my focus is, because we walked her fight and we saw the reality of what is childhood cancer, I advocate and raise awareness for it, because I want those parents that were in the spot that I was before to wake up and realize that it could happen to anybody, because both of us were parents at one point that didn't have a child with cancer, and now we sit here together as bereaved parents. And I think people need to wake up to the reality of what's outside their box and care more.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head with saying it's like, the day before they were diagnosed, we were not parents in this world. We were not parents in this community. We did not have children with cancer. Mm-hmm. And I think we're all guilty of that not really paying enough attention to this world until you're part of it. And so for that, we can't fault people. But at the same time, when the community seems to be getting so large mm-hmm. and so misunderstood, we really need people to listen up and understand this is a big problem. Because neither one of us, I think, wanted to be in this community. Neither one of us wanted to make friendships or long-lasting bonds in this type of way. But I know that I've always said that I didn't want to be part of it, but I will now go scorched earth for any family in this community, any child, because they deserve it, and our families deserve to be heard. So what else? What else can we talk about?
Well, I was going to say, I know that you said we can't really fault people, but I think some people we can, especially family. Family, that also, maybe you're the first person that has a child with childhood cancer that turns the back on you. I think to a certain point, we can't fault people because we were in their shoes too, but there's those people closer to you that could help also be a voice. And they, many times, sadly, you realize who's really there for you when you're going through this. So I think people really need to just, I don't know, care more than themselves, and really open up their eyes and not turn away.
Yeah, no, I think you'll probably agree that goes in line with when the unfortunate thing happens of losing a child, that support that you have. And honestly, I feel the same way from family even, and the people you thought were going to be ride or die till the end tend to kind of back away. Yes. And you lose a lot of that support, a lot of that, not hand-holding, but people that just you thought were, I'm never going to have to worry about counting on this person. And then all of a sudden, nothing. Yeah. Yeah, it's incredible. And I think family is too. It's one of those things where they're like, well, they're in a better place now, and you probably need to move on, and you need to get on with your life. And it's a shame that people, we don't want you to understand what we felt like and what we went through, right? But we want you to realize that we're still people. And when anybody asks me how many children I have, I always still say 3, and I will always say that
I say
forever.
3 as well. I
Yeah.
say 3 as well. And sometimes I still, talk about her in the presence, like she's still here, because in my heart, I still feel her, even though she's not physically here. But that's very true. And a lot of people say, oh, well, it's because I don't know how to show up for people. I don't know what to say. I'd rather not say anything. And the reality is it's better to you to say something than to not do anything. Like I always say, be straight up with people. Like if you don't know how to show up, like, hey, I want to be there for you. I just don't know how. But just know that I am here. Something that, it's better for me to be like, you know what, she did reach out or he did reach out than saying, oh, they forgot about me. You know,
Yeah.
my daughter passed and I was no longer, a person in their life. Or for me, and I don't know, and I'm sure you feel the same way, is like, I like to hear Luna's name. So I always say to people, like, if you don't know what to say, just thinking of you is always a good text. It's always like, you don't have to really address it, but just let the person know that you're there.
Yeah. No, it's that, we had a personal experience with somebody, that a friend that I was very close to was actually the very first person that called when JC was admitted in the very beginning and diagnosed. The very first person that called, and he was like, whatever you need, whether it's money, whether you need a ride, whether you need somebody to talk to. And this was somebody that called me and cried on the phone. Well, I'm in the hospital gift shop, and he's on the other end crying because he feels so bad. And I thought for sure this is somebody I could always count on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one, and I've actually mentioned him in a podcast in the past, that he's the one that disappointed me the most, because I thought for sure I would never have to worry about that support.
Mm-hmm.
And his response, to never to me, but was to somebody else, was that I don't know what to say to them. I don't know what I can offer them. So I feel better just ghosting, essentially, just backing away. And that, to me, like when you're first diagnosed, unless you have a community of people,
Mm-hmm.
you are you're with blinders on. You have no idea what you're going to go through. You don't have support from the pediatric cancer community, because at that point you don't even know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're going through it with your friends and your family, and then they just disappear. And we need that support when they're going through their treatments, when they're NED, when they pass away. We need that support all the time, because what you see on the outside is not what we feel on the inside. And that's what I really would love to try to get that point across.
Yeah, yeah, you're 100%. I agree with everything that you say. It's not just and when we talk about support, I feel like people need to understand it's not anything truly monetary or anything. It's emotional, and just knowing that if we need that help, because childhood cancer, especially when you're inpatient, like throws your whole life around, your whole routine. So to feel that we have someone we can be like, hey, I need like groceries, I need this picked up, I need my kid dropped off, to feel comfortable to have that is everything, because then we can turn around and focus on our child. And in itself, it's hard to ask for help. Like, it's hard to help. I had people tell me like, oh, I'm here if you need anything. But the reality is like that kind of falls on me, like, oh, well, like when you say help, how much can you take on? Like, is it just an ear for me to talk to? Or is it more like house chores or something that I can take off my plate? So I always also say, offer something tangible. Hey, if you need me to talk, I am here. If you need me to help you, go and pick up your house, if it's someone close, like let me clean your kitchen. Hey, I can drop off food. What time will you be home? Or anything. Do you need coffee? Something tangible, so we know. So there's not that awkwardness, and we feel comfortable, like, okay, this is a person that I can go to for food. This is a person that I can go to for anything that I need at the house. So if we don't respond or don't exactly tell you what we need, it's not necessarily that we don't need the help. It's that sometimes it's hard amongst all the things that are going on with our child. It's hard to like kind of pick, even after our child has passed. Like, I know it took me 4 months before I started driving again. It took me 4 months before I left my room. And I had friends that would come like, hey, let me take the kids to school. So I didn't have to do it. Um, oh, let me, here's a gift card for food so you can order food. So just offering something tangible, I think is important for people to also like know and understand.
Yeah, no, I think you're 100% right, and that's um, j- I don't, I get, yeah, it's that being able to offer anything at all is so important because, like you said, and we still, even today, asking for help is hard.
Yeah.
And, I've also said in the past too that my wife and I, through our entire marriage, coming up on 20 years, is that we have always been that couple that helped everybody else, whether it was paying somebody else's bills, whether it was helping with rent, or whether it was letting people live in our house,
Yeah.
whatever. We were always the one that helped.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us to turn around, and that's not like not putting us up on a high horse. That's just saying that's the way that it always worked out. And
Mm-hmm.
for us to turn around all of a sudden and say, hey, we need something.
Yeah.
And we were terrible. We're still terrible at it. It's saying, hey,
Same.
we need help in this. We need you to come do this for us, or we need this. I would rather. I guess I've just always been that kind of person to do things on my own or find a way to do it on my
And it's
own.
not pride, and I think I want people like directly go to it's like, oh, you're just prideful, and it's not that. It's hard because I always say that too. I'm always the person that goes, oh, how can I help this person? Like I've always been that way, and I always say I'm a giver. I'm not really a receiver. It's hard for me to receive. Um, but yeah, it's not pride or anything, and I think a lot of people think it's that, but the reality is that for me at least, I thought about how shitty it was to be in this situation, how much it sucked. And I guess in a way to kind of put that on, I felt like I was putting my life burden or my situation on somebody else's life because I didn't know if they could take it on in any aspect, whether it was talking or anything. So I think that's what it was hard for me to receive because I felt like doing that would um, just kind of burden them, although it I know it didn't, but in that point in my life, it was that. It's just, I'm a giver too. Like I'm a giver, like I love to help, and that's why with the foundation, um, I try to help as many people as I can and make a really impactful um like change in their lives, whatever it is, whether it's something, an experience or something for the child. Like it's hard. I never want anybody to feel that way because we've been in the trenches and we know like how it truly is.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And I think with us, if anybody that knows us or what we've done through social media and things like that, we probably take on too much when it comes to trying to help other people or to support as many as we can, because I feel like that's what we need to do. I feel like that's what JC would have wanted
Yes.
for us to continue to help other people, because that's what
Mm-hmm.
she was about caring. And that's something that is so important for people to understand, that these kids at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, they don't care about themselves as much as they care about everybody else,
Yeah.
and making sure that they're okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think these children at that young age, even, and whether you are a spiritual person or a religious person or not, I think they know what is happening
Mm-hmm.
on a way deeper level. And I've mentioned it before, when JC went into her, where she couldn't breathe and she was having a hard time right before she went into that sleep state, I looked at her and asked if she was okay, and she looked at me and nodded yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think she knew very well what was happening, what was coming, and she was essentially letting me know she was okay and she was going to be all right. When our friends, when their daughter passed last year in August, it was the weeks leading up to it. She was always asking, "Are you okay? I
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure you're okay." And these kids, they just they have that ability to want to care so much, and I think that transfers to us, and we just want to do the same thing. And I'm so willing, and I think maybe you too, that you will overextend ourselves to the point of complete exhaustion, if even if that means we can help one person or
Mhm.
make one person smile or one person forget about what they're going through for that day. um,
Yeah, I,
so
I I know that I find myself when I do things for the foundation, like sometimes I don't sleep for 24 hours because I'm up doing, aside from procrastinating, but like I pour my heart into this and I make sure that every detail is Luna. And I always say I would do what Luna would do. Like you said it perfectly. Like Luna, anytime anybody she came across anybody, she made sure to acknowledge them. She made show that to say hi. She made sure to know their name. That's something that she loved to do. What's your name? What's your name? Even though she asked it before, she made know that anybody that walked in the room, anybody, if she was out in the garden with her grandma, that, she would say hi and ask their name. Um, and that's what I kind of do. And I also feel like our kids know more than what we think, because you know I'm sure you watched the video, but when Luna went into her deep sleep, because she went into a 6 long sleep, she also was telling me like, I love you, mom. Like, I love you forever and ever. And that's the day that I called hospice and that she went into that deep sleep. And I feel like now looking back, like she was really trying to tell me like she could barely talk and really try to get it out to let me know like, I'm not going to leave you without saying that and letting you know that I love you. Um, and she's only 4. So I really think that our kids really do know way deeper than we think they do, especially when it's in those kind of last stages. Um, but yeah, and that's just kind of what I do. I'm always like, what will Luna do? Like, what would Luna want to do? And that's just how I guide my heart in giving to others. And, um, I want everybody to feel like acknowledged and know like you're not alone.
yeah, and that's unfortunately we a lot of us in this community feel, I think, that we are alone in this fight and alone in this battle. And Um, but just in our time since January of 2020, I've seen, whether it's fortunately or unfortunately, I've seen this community grow exponentially. But the community of support, I think, that we've been able to build, and everything we've been able to work for with our organization and with our social media presence, is something that I'm very proud of, and very then I finally don't feel alone in this fight. I feel like we have a leg up, and we're going to be able to make changes and make a difference. And that's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think, is for any of us to be able to just not be needed anymore in this space, to be able to have made a change and impact big enough that we don't have to be here doing this, because this is no longer a problem.
Yeah.
And that is the goal. That is the
Mm.
hope. But so tell me more about Luna's Everglow.
So Luna's Everglow, of course, it's founded in honor of my daughter Luna. And Everglow, she was a big Coldplay fan. So we wanted to do, first I'll tell you how the name came about. We wanted to do Luna's Light, but Luna's Light was already kind of taken, because everybody, when they think of Luna, they think of a light. Like she was just, like I told you, like she loved people, and she like you felt her love when you were around her. And we were like, we want to continue to spread that around the world to other families and children affected by pediatric cancer. And she was a Coldplay fan, and there's a song called Everglow, and it says, the light you left will ever glow. And it talks just kind of about that. And then her dad is like, why don't we just do Luna's Everglow? And I was like, it sounds kind of, it doesn't like flow at first. I thought about that. But then I don't know, like one day I'm like, you know what? No, it actually does flow. So we decided to do Luna's Everglow, and now it's like I wouldn't change the name at all because I think it's perfect. So what we focus on is truly making impactful um, just experiences with children. We do a lot of donations to Luna's Treating Hospital, which is Chalk Hospital in Orange County. We, for her birthday, especially because her birthday is December 31st, so it's New Year's, and they tend to get really quiet during New Year's Eve, so we donate during that. Most holidays we do, and then we do what we call is best birthday ever in reference to best day ever, the Tangled, because Luna loved Tangled. And we do birthdays for children that are fighting cancer, and we have a party planner, a lot of vendors that kind of come together and make a kind of a memorable birthday. And these are kids that may have a terminal diagnosis, a kid that, we don't know if they may or may not get another birthday. So we try to kind of step in and create those moments for the child and the parents. And we also do experiences. So we've sent our kids to Disneyland or Legoland. We've done that as well. And something that I'm working on is the bereaved parent kind of grief part of our foundation, because again, a lot of the times when your child passes, it's like people let go of the family, they let go of the parents. So I'm working with the hospital to create what I want to call forever and ever boxes, like that includes things that I know I treasure most from Luna, like hand molds, just like recording of the heart. I don't know how it was for you. I know you guys were home, but for me in the hospital, everybody was scrambling, like different departments, like music therapy, social workers were kind of scrambling to um, find the things that we needed. And I want to kind of curate a box that has everything, so there's not that much chaos when that is happening, and a parent doesn't miss out on something. Like, I know a lot of parents don't know that you could get their heartbeat recorded with music therapy. So something that is just like here, like this is something they have at Chalk. They have some, but they're these tiny boxes for usually NICU babies. And when we talk about oncology, it could be, months old up into 18. Sometimes they treat, up to 21. So it's it's something in my heart that I've been wanting to put together. So that's what we're working on, and just grief support for bereaved parents to have a place to go to really talk about and connect, because I feel that although therapy is important, sometimes it is more comforting when you have a parent that has gone through it, that has walked your shoes and really understands all the emotions. Um, and that's just kind of what we try to provide, just an overall. So we do a little bit of everything, but yeah, we're new. Like I said, my daughter passed in June. I started doing this a few months after she passed, and my hope is, yes, to help as many kids as I can and families, but my focus is really in making meaningful, impactful presence in these families' life, like going to their softball games, going to their birthdays, just really walking them through it, because I know how it feels to feel alone. So I'm not one that, I just want to throw money or toys or whatever it is. I really want to show these parents that, they're not alone. And again, that's something that I can do now. Who knows? I hope that we grow eventually. But for now, I think I've been very happy with the things that we've done and how we've done them. And again, always thinking of Luna and letting her guide me through it all.
Yeah, no, I think it's all amazing, and I think with you have there's two different ways that families go
Mhm.
when their parent or when their children pass away, and one is to kind of do this route where we
Mm-hmm.
create an organization or a podcast or you advocate or whatever. And the other one is to kind of just sink into the background and not pretend it didn't happen, but you just don't want to be part of that world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And either way is fine. Like
Yeah,
that's,
none of it,
it's,
there's
but
no right or
you know
wrong
what I mean?
way.
Like there's no right or wrong way to grieve, and there's no right or wrong way to move forward in life. So I think it's amazing. I think the grief side of it is something that does tend to get, I don't want to say left behind, but it doesn't get as much focus. The parents. The parents are meant. We're supposed to be, carry the weight of the world, and it's all about the kids
Mm-hmm.
and which I agree with, but we do. We need support as well, especially after a child passes, because we are trying to navigate what we do if you have other children. And I've said in the past that if you have other children, and you have a child that passes, I think every year it gets harder because you are seeing your other children accomplish things. I have my daughter's graduating high school in a few
Mm-hmm.
months and going to college. I have another daughter; she's going to be a fully licensed driver in a few months, and they're competing in things, and they're moving forward with their lives,
Yes.
something that JC will never be able to do. And so I think it gets harder every year. So that support needs to follow you through your time until you physically turn around and say, hey, I don't need it anymore, or give it to somebody else. But
Mm-hmm.
we need it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if we say we don't need it, I think we need that support. And something that the other thing too is that I think is really important. And again, this is not me advocating for myself, but I think generally speaking, a group of people that don't get a lot of maybe eyes on them, or we don't get the necessary support, whatever, is dads or fathers. Because I think a lot of people associate, if your child is sick or if they're going through something like this, you see the moms on the
Yeah.
forefront. And again, nothing to take away from anybody, but I think just, I don't know, I
I think
grew up
it's
in the
easier.
80s, you know what
I,
I mean?
I
It's,
think it's easier for moms to talk about their feelings and emotions. And for dads, it's a lot harder to kind of break that and really, because it's hard. It's hard, and it's a world that really shows you some things. Like what we show is only a glimpse of what we see. And I think it's harder for dads to open up to their emotions and their feelings and talk about and feel comfortable to talk about it. Um, and I know a lot of dads just kind of hold that in, and it's
Mhm.
important to have that support for them too. Um, because I know for myself, like, we cry and it's like, okay, that's fine. But some dads, and it's understandably, don't have that in them to open up that way, or feel like they can, because there's not many that really talk about it. So it's important, I feel, to have a dad's perspective on it to kind of make those connections.
Yeah. No, I think it's something that's extremely important. I think that, like I said, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. It was, maybe that's just a generation of it. I don't know that, I always felt like, from, my family perspective, that I was, my parents divorced when I was 6, so
Mm-hmm.
I was the only man in the house, if you'll say it that way. And I always felt like I had to carry the weight. I had to carry and shoulder everything. And yeah, I break down. I probably break down more than my wife does.
Mm-hmm.
But I also feel like I feel like I'm supposed to carry the weight. I'm supposed to not show it. I'm supposed to put on that hard exterior, like,
Mm-hmm.
what it is, what it is. I don't, nothing bothers me, when in the reality of it is, when there's no camera on me and there's nobody looking at me, I may be going through the worst time of my life,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to find people that you can actually sit down or just feel comfortable,
Yes.
as as us saying, okay, hey, I really need to talk because I'm having a bad day, not, hey, we need to go out for a beer. Like, there's a
Mhm.
difference in how you can cope with that.
Yeah.
And I hope that, more fathers and more dads can feel more comfortable. And it's okay to open up. It's okay to ask for help. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to be vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
and let your guard down, because we're all here to support each other no matter what.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with that. And it's good to have people, dads like you, to have platforms like this to talk about it, because maybe they aren't ready to just talk about it, but they can listen in and really kind of see, like, you know what, like I'm not alone, and there's other dads out there kind of going through the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely something that is important for people to understand. But
Mhm.
I think, moving forward with this, it's just again a way for us to communicate and connect with everybody and connect with the medical world and the political world, which is a whole nother ball game to deal with. It's not fun, it's not exciting, and it's definitely, it stresses me out more than sitting in traffic. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But that is an unfortunate side, that political side that we need in order to make changes happen on the permanent level.
Yeah.
I've been told by many people, my family included, that
Hmm.
my voice is not loud enough by itself to
Hmm.
make a change. I don't agree with that, because I think if you've heard me, you know that I can speak just as loud as I want to, and I will make my voice heard because I'm speaking for a community.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for myself.
Hmm.
I think, like most parents, I would have taken this from JC at any point in time.
Hmm.
I would have taken this fight from her at any point and said,
Hmm.
I'll do it. I
Yes.
would rather give you everything that I have. I would rather give you that 42 years that I've been on this
Yeah.
earth than for you to lose that time.
Hmm.
And it's to get people to understand how far we're willing to go, and to get people to understand also that it can happen to you at any moment
Yes.
is so important, and that it's not a threat. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's not a threat to come in and say this could happen to you.
Hmm.
It's a reality.
Yes. And I think rewarding that it's not that your voice isn't loud, is that we're louder when we're together.
Mhm.
So by advocating and raising awareness, understanding that, you guys have your foundation, I have my foundation, but like working together, we all want to get to one point. And it's for one day cancer to not exist at all, you know? And the only way to get that is being louder together. Like the more voices we have, the more people will listen. And that's something that I really want people to understand, because a lot of the times we're shamed as parents for sharing our kids' stories. But the reality is that childhood cancer is not pretty. Childhood cancer is not this, I'm going to say, bald kid in a hospital bed in a commercial. It's not.
Mhm.
And people need to understand how it affects. And the only way to do that is for people to see the reality of it, um, and not turn away, and not shame parents, because the reality is we don't do this for clicks. We don't do this for views. We do it because we've lived it, we've walked it, and we want to advocate and raise awareness so it stops happening. It just seems like it's when you're in this, you realize how bad it's getting, and like you've said, we're growing, and it sucks that we are as a community growing, but it's also kind of, you know, there's more of us to kind of speak up. But I think it makes a big difference when there's someone that has nothing to do with the cancer world to step in and be like, you know what, I'm going to advocate for you because I see you, I see your child's journey, I saw their fight, and I care enough. And we're louder together.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's the one, and I will say this for anybody that listens, that the one place that you will see so many people come together and so many people that have no connection to the pediatric side of this is CureFest. It is something that when we went the first year in September, that was just literally 2 months after JC had passed the first year we went, and it was hard for us to be there. But we also felt this incredible sense of family and community with so many people that truly understand either what you're going through, or they sympathize in a way that you feel like they actually care. Because just anybody coming up to you, and I'm gonna tell you now, your family comes, hey, I know how you feel. No, you don't. No, you don't. I've gotten this from I've gotten this from my family. I've gotten it from my wife's family. We know how you feel because my My husband passed away. Listen, it's terrible, but as a kid, it is different. Okay, it is so different. There's no way to explain what it's like to lose a child, and the only person in my life that understands even a hint of what we are going through is my grandmother, because my uncle and my aunt have passed away. So she technically has lost children, but they were adult children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they weren't 4 years old or 8 years old. It
Yeah.
is a different feeling. But being around people and being able to meet people that will either fight for you or fight alongside you is an
Mhm.
incredible feeling. And it's an incredible thing that the only thing I wished more about CureFest is that it was held during a time when Congress wasn't out of session, so they could actually see
Okay.
you there, actually see you walking the halls, going to the Capitol, the White House, whatever,
Hmm.
and actually showing up and giving a damn is what I would love.
Yeah, I agree. I last year was my first time going, and I think it was 3 months after Luna passed, and it was hard, but um, it felt like when, especially during like the tabling, it felt like comforting, like a comfort, like you were meeting people that truly did understand. Because I agree, I've lost, grandparents, I've lost uncles, and it sucks, but it's not the same. Even I've had a miscarriage before, and that was horrible. But it doesn't compare to losing a child. It like there's truly no greater pain, and being surrounded with people that understand you because they've walked it. It's a different feeling, and I agree. I wish that it was. I kind of understand why they do it in September, but I also wish that it was at a time where people are really there to hear us, to see us, to like be like, wow, there is people that need this. Because I feel like in their mind it's just like they they know we're there, but they're not really seeing us as a whole,
Hmm.
which sucks. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. I think it's probably one of the, I mean, that downfall, beside the fact that you don't ever see any like news coverage, right? You don't see any news trucks out there that are shooting this big rally or anything like that, which is terrible because they cover everything. Okay, they cover everything, that's whether it's important to you or not, they
Mhm.
cover everything. And this is one that I think is just, it's a missed opportunity, and it's a shame. Just in our personal life with the organization, we have had many opportunities for news channels to come and cover what we're doing,
Mhm.
and not because I want to be on the news. I could care less. It's because we want everybody else to see what we're doing, because what we're doing means that more eyes on it. That means there's a one supporter that wants to come in and help you.
Mhm.
And it's not always, yeah, sometimes it is financial, because as a nonprofit, you need donations
Yeah.
in order to keep
Yeah.
running, but
And
you also need support, people that will say, hey, I will be there for you, our company will be there for you, whatever you need, let us know. And you build those relationships. But when it comes to the media, I think that they turn a blind eye. How many times I've reached out and they said, hey, we got to take this to the newsroom, and I never hear from them again.
yeah. And I think people need to understand something important too, because it's so hard to be a small foundation, fundraising. Community donations is really what keeps us going. And people are like, oh, well, if you're going to do good, you don't, if you do it from the heart, you don't have to show it. But the reality is that we need to, not only to get it to see more eyes, but to show those people that do support us that we are using what you donate to give back. It's not something that we're pocketing, because I think you work the same as us. Like 100% of our donations go directly back to the children and families. So we don't get anything. So the only way that we can get people to see this is by showing it. Like, this is what we're doing with your donations. This is what the difference that we're making. The As small as it could be, it makes a big impact in these families' lives. And
Yeah.
I think the media is needs to do a better job at really showing those important stories of these children that are fighting, that deserve to be heard.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do. And then, you mentioned them before without mentioning them by name, but there's a certain organization that needs to do better marketing, and that's it's not because you need to show scary things but you need to show reality.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until even this year that I started to notice that one of their commercials would follow the child going through treatments, and then they fast forward to a year later and tell us that the child passed away. So that was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And I understand that that's one of the biggest places that people will donate money.
Hmm.
And wonderful. Okay, we know people that have been treated there. We know people that are still in treatment there. They do amazing things.
Hmm.
But when you put all of your money in one basket, you are asking for nothing else to be done. They're only at one place, one group of people. There are scientists and doctors out there that want to make changes and don't have the financial means or don't have the abilities to do these things. And for us, our marketing is going online, and our marketing is posting on social media, and we do the best that we can. And I was walking somewhere a couple of days ago, and I heard two people talking, and she said, "I always make my donation to them every single year. That's where I donate my money.
Hmm.
But I wish they would leave me alone because every single month they send me another letter asking for more money." And it's like, I
And
just that's frustrating, you
the
know?
reality is that there people don't know, but they are sitting on a lot of money that is not being used, you know. And yes, I know that hospitals use some of the um, research that they've gone through. However, I always say we're not saying not to donate there, but we're saying broaden your donations. 1 month donate there, another month donate to another foundation, donate to a research for brain cancer. Don't like there's so many other places that your money can go to. It doesn't just have to, like you said, go to just one place for months, for years. If you truly want to help, you broaden your donations. There's other amazing organizations, also small foundations that make a big difference. And yeah.
No,
Um,
no,
without
it's
saying more, I mean, people get.
no, I think they know. I think it's one of those things that there are two very big organizations, one for pediatric diseases and cancer and one
Mhm.
for breast cancer. And
Mhm.
people donate blindly to them every year because of the namesake,
Yes.
not because they're doing anything wrong, not
Mhm.
because they're not making research and making leaps and bounds in the research for those specific areas. But again, if you're putting all your money in one spot and you've got somebody sitting over here, listen, Amazon was started in a garage,
Yeah.
okay? And Napster, if you remember that, was started as a school project. Like,
Mhm.
there are people out there that are the greatest minds that will never have the ability to create something because they're not a big name.
Mhm.
And it's a shame that that's the kind of the way these things go.
Mhm.
It's a shame that the people that have organizations like this have connections to people with billions and billions of
Yeah.
dollars and don't really need the help,
Mhm.
but continue to get it. And then organizations that are smaller, who I've been told I'm not allowed to call myself a small organization anymore. I'm supposed to brag about how big we are, which it's just not me. I feel weird about it,
Uh-huh.
but um, I there's organizations like ours that struggle every day, every month, every year to make a change, and then to raise this money every year, and we feel like we have to give it away
Mhm.
to research. That's
Mhm.
our goal, and we're kind of being pushed into a corner now that we may need to do all of our fundraising for ourselves next year
Mhm.
because people want to, or these companies want to see that if they're going to give you money, it stays right here.
Mhm.
And we are not small. We are global. This community is global.
Mhm.
We want to help everybody. I'm in one state, one community, one city, but this problem is not a one city and one state problem.
Mhm.
And so that's what needs to be understood, that if you're donating money to us, our the donations they're being spread all over. We have sent packages to all 50 states and like 5 countries, and
Mhm.
um, we don't just limit it to this, because if we did, I think it would be seen. I almost think it would be seen as selfish to limit it to one space. There's so many people that need help, and
Mhm.
I've said it before. We probably overextend ourselves, but that's the reality of what we need to do in order to do things that our country, our government won't do.
Yeah.
It's up to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you guys do amazing job. Like that, you do amazing. Like that's why I always tell you, you inspire me to kind of push a little bit harder, do more. We are just small, but we hope that one day we can expand to be that at that point one time. Well, more than one time, but yeah, it's like you said, it's global. It's not just here. It's not just in California. It's not just in the US. It's everywhere. And I think people need to wake up and realize that childhood cancer doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter your race, your gender, your age. Kids get cancer too. Very tiny
Yeah,
babies also get cancer. And I think people need
absolutely.
to realize that.
Yeah, and it's absolutely, and that's the one thing that once again people see cancer and they see that's the word, and that
Mhm.
means that it affects everybody exactly the same.
Mhm.
And when they think, okay, well, if we have billions and billions of dollars in cancer research. That's right. You have billions and billions of dollars in cancer research, but you have millions, okay, for pediatric cancer research, which is 100% different than adult cancers.
Yeah.
Even if it's the same strain of cancer in a 4-year-old versus a 40-year-old,
Mhm.
you react differently. Your body handles it differently. The treatments that you go through. If we were allowed on social media to show exactly what these treatments do to a child in full without the blurs and without the stickers over certain things, you would lose your mind. I think you would fall to the floor and think, holy hell, I cannot believe that a small child is going through something like
Yeah.
this. What we see on those commercials, those kids are all smiling. Yeah, they are. But that can be such a small part of all of this. I still have, and I say this all the time, I still have got pictures on my phone and videos and things like that that I have never shown anybody. I still have things of when I was going through with JC that I don't think I've even shared with my wife and my kids from things that I've seen
Yeah.
that would floor people. But unfortunately, I really do truly believe that it's that reality that some people need to see. They need to see what it's like to be, um, you know, 20 pounds, 30 pounds, 40 pounds, and having this, and having a nurse walk into your room in full biohazard gear. Because if they, for some godforsaken reason, touch this chemo, well, that's the end of it.
Mhm.
But and then it goes in a biohazard bag. The hoses, the cords, the bags,
Mhm.
everything. You can't touch any of it. And if your child is if for some reason using the one type of drug which JC was on called
Mhm.
thiotepa that excretes through your pores,
Mhm.
and you get that on you, it will burn you.
Yeah.
What the hell is it doing to the inside of these children's bodies? What is it doing to their psyche?
Yeah.
If you've ever seen your child go into a locked in the box state because of what these drugs do to them, or have tremors that literally sit them up and
Yeah.
you have to lay in bed.
These medications are made for adults, and we're giving them to these children with little bodies
Yeah.
that their immune system is still kind of figuring everything out in this world. And um, that's another thing, like radiation. Like Luna was 3.5 when she was diagnosed, and they were like, well, we probably may not even be able to do radiation because at that age, their brain is so underdeveloped that it still can do so much damage. And that's something that people don't really talk about. How I know personally some children that have not passed from the treatment, but I mean, have not passed from the cancer itself, but from the treatment, because it's so harsh on their little bodies, especially radiation, like radiation necrosis. Like it just shuts your child down so harshly, and people need to like really see that it's the reality that these kids, some of them are, there's no evidence of disease, but the treatment in itself, because it's so harsh, it's so toxic, is just the reason why they're passing many of the time, sadly. Um, for Luna, we believe that part of it was progression and part of it was the radiation necrosis, just because of the way that she passed. And it's hard because as a parent, you're given, there's for Luna's type of cancers, like, we were told initially she's not going to survive this. Like the day that we got her diagnosis, they're like, there's stuff that we can try to prolong her life. Of course, we always kept her quality first, more than quantity. But it's like DMG and DIPG, there's no protocols. There's no roadmap. Um, where there's nothing that has been shown to really work for this cancer. So it's like, what do you do as a parent? Not knowing anything about cancer. And it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? You're left with clinical trials. And clinical trials, again, is something that people don't understand, that there's different phases. Like there's phases where they're just testing safety. They don't know if it's going to work. It's just something new that they might have seen on lab rats, but they're just testing safety. So I think there's also needs to be more education for parents in the fight too, but also people that don't know that it's not, oh, they hear, oh, there's a clinical trial, then you're going to be fine. The reality, that's not the reality. There's cancers that don't have protocols, that don't have roadmaps. And even the ones that do have, they're so harsh and so toxic.
Yeah, no, there are some drugs that when they go into these children, the side effects, I mean, are 5-6 pages long, and the last one is always death.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where you're not forced to sign these papers, but you feel like, I know what the outcome's going to be if I don't try,
Yeah.
and I feel like I have to. And
Mhm.
it is such an incredibly hard thing to watch your child go through this, and they're so innocent, and um you're supposed to stop pain from happening to them, but you have to physically almost do this to them in order to give them a possibility of
Yeah.
survival without any guarantee.
Mhm.
And when we were first diagnosed, the oncologist sat down in front of us. He said, "So we've done the biopsy. It's choroid plexus carcinoma, and it has a very poor prognosis." And that was about the extent of the conversation. And this was while she was in for her second surgery to completely remove the tumor. And at that point, literally, we were sitting in the waiting room, and there was somebody that got up and started yelling at the person sitting there because they weren't able to go see their mother. And their mother was, she was, I don't know, 80 years old or whatever. And at that point, my wife was pissed. And I don't know if they ever heard her, but she's like, well, at least your child just didn't get diagnosed with cancer. Your mom has lived a long life. She was angry, and it's not like it was trying to degrade them or anything they were going through, but it was like at that point we felt like, what the hell did we do? What did we do? Did our daughter do to deserve this? There's no rhyme or reason.
Your
And
perspective on life changes, on the things that are truly important, the things that really don't need um, much of like, just your life. You see how fragile life is. The moment that they tell you your child has cancer, your child won't survive this, I remember the feeling like I threw up when they told me. I threw up, and you're like, what? You don't, like, you go into this shock and this disbelief, and then reality sinks in. And it's weird because you go through shock, and I think the reality of this is going to be our life goes in. And I think, I don't know how you feel about it, but when you lose your child, it all just seems so unreal. Like, it seems like, how, like, you sit, like, I sit here and think, like, how is this our life? It seems unreal. Like, it just, I think it's that for me, maybe it's because it's only been 10.5 months. It's like, it just seems so unreal. And yeah, your perspective on life definitely changes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I do too with my videos and my posts, and try to people to see, like, like, if the only problem you have right now, yeah, it sucks, is money. I get it. But if you have a healthy child, that is everything. Everything.
Yeah. That's the world. That is the absolute world. And um, when you're going through all of this, and the unfortunate thing happens of you losing your child, and then from there on out, my wife is uber paranoid about this stuff, and I am too, but I tend to suppress it,
Hmm.
because I cannot allow something else like this to happen again.
Hmm.
And so, but anytime, one of our daughters, if it's a headache or they don't feel good, then she goes to the worst. Oh my God, I can't. I said, you got to stop, because we're gonna short circuit here, and we have to relax and just kind of
Hmm.
let it go. And it's not me discounting anything, but it's just you can't imagine that something like that could happen again, or
Hmm.
it could happen to you, and you don't think it could happen in the first place. you know I've said it before that I grew up watching these commercials. I grew up watching this stuff on TV and not giving it a second thought, thinking that sucks.
Hmm.
I can't even imagine. And then here we are, and we are the commercial. we you
Living.
know we you are that. And my wife says that the reason that people leave is because there's no longer a freak show. There's no longer a circus act that they can watch. There's no longer a train wreck that they can see happening. And a lot of people may leave because, or they feel uncomfortable because they don't want it to happen to their kids. And listen, I don't want it to happen to your kids either. But at the same time, it just means never take your foot off the gas.
Hmm.
Never take your eyes off of what's going on. And
Hmm.
NED and cancer free, those are two very, very different things.
Hmm.
And I actually wish that they were not a thing, because I wish it was, okay, it's been 5 years, we're going to be guarded, live your life, just be careful.
Yeah.
Not, okay, we're going to ring the bell at 5 years and that means you're cancer free. Cancer, you know what I mean? It doesn't F around, okay? It can, unfortunately, it pops back up. JC was technically NED in the very beginning after everything was done. And then it crept back up and it kicked us right in the ass, and it went from bad to worse very fast.
Hmm.
And I don't like it, because I feel like too many people see it. Oh, well, they're done with treatments, everything is good, they're in maintenance, we don't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah.
No,
Next.
you need
Yeah.
to be more on point, paying attention to every little thing, because it there's no rhyme or reason for why this happens.
Hmm. I think people want, I've said this in previous posts, people want to stay to cheer the child on, to see them ring the bell and cheer them on. They don't want to see the child that passes, the child that doesn't make it. And that is why they they kind of let go of the family. And the reality is that there's many of us that lose our kids. There's many kids that don't make it. But
Yeah,
people, once your child passes, okay, who's the next kid I can cheer on? Instead of really staying for the aftermath and all that comes after.
yeah,
People, it, it it's it's it doesn't stop there, because as a parent, then you're left with, and it continues. It's like you don't even have time to just breathe. Okay, your child passes. Now it's like, okay, well, now you have to go and make arrangements for your child. You have to make decisions of sitting in a room trying to know if even then you're making the right decisions, picking out urns or coffins. Like it's it continues on, and people don't understand that. And the reality is people want to cheer on for the kid that's going to ring the bell, not the kid that's going to gain their wings.
yeah. No, they absolutely do. And I think it's something that we see very prevalent on social media.
Hmm.
It's, if you get kids or you get families with really big accounts, and they follow them, they follow them, they follow, and then if the child passes, then you start to see the support dwindle a little bit. I mean, maybe not for everybody, but you will see that back off. And I said it just recently, is that we get too many internet doctors that want to tell you how things are, how things should be, or that we don't understand things because we don't have a medical degree. But we don't get to clock out. We don't get to turn this off. This is our life moving forward. Even if we chose to never be out in the public and never put our stories
Mm-hmm.
out there, we still have to live it every day.
Yes.
And you still, like we still have other responsibilities, other children that you have to
Life
care
doesn't
for.
stop. Life
Yeah,
doesn't stop.
the bills are still going to come in, and the school's still going to happen, and sports are still going to happen, and you have to be there because you're a parent,
Yes.
and you have to somehow shoulder this weight that everybody that tells you that you don't understand because you're not a professional,
Mm-hmm.
they get to leave it and go home. They get to leave it behind. And we've met some of the most incredible nurses and doctors and some shitty ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the best ones are the ones that truly try to be there for you in the time that they have and are there for you afterwards. And I
Yeah.
still speak to our social worker even 3 years later. I still speak to
Mm-hmm.
the child life specialist that JC just was in love with. I still stay in touch with them because they're incredible people, and they were part of our story, and they were at her funeral, and they were there for us when we
Mm-hmm.
needed them, and they're still there. Um, and those are people that we didn't know up until that time, not people that you had your whole entire life that disappeared. These people didn't know you from anybody, but they're your closest allies and your closest advocates when you need something.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, but it's sad at
Mm-hmm.
the same time.
Yeah. I agree. And it comes to also, talking to, like I mentioned before, sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that's been through it than a professional, like say if it's a therapy that doesn't really know. They only know because they went to school for it and they studied it, but they don't, they can only understand you to a certain extent, to a certain point. Um, and it comes with, other people, like, and talking about loss of, parents, loss of um, other people outside of a child. Like they can understand you to a certain extent, but I truly commend those doctors, those nurses that really take the time to keep connected with us and really truly still check in. And not only that, but follow on social media, continue to follow on social media and share our kids' legacy and just show that they're still there, present, that they weren't just, treating a patient.
Yeah. No, that's something that it's few and far between. But when you find truly genuine people, then you hold on to them as close as you can.
Yeah.
I mean, this here, and social media in general, and the organization, like that's my therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That's my ability to deal with everything and be able to make a difference in the positive for somebody else, and hopefully maybe I give advice in some way, or maybe I give insight in some way that helps make a difference and extend the life of a child, or it just extends the understanding of somebody that's going through it, or maybe it promotes you doing more research, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or it makes you laugh. I don't care. I just want to be able to make a change and make a difference in some positive way. So, professional therapy, yes. In the very beginning, my wife was very much so that I needed it. But it wasn't fighting it. It was that this is what I do. I throw myself into my work, and I think I don't think it's a bad thing. I think as long as you know where you can kind of cut off when you need to, and you don't overdo it, then it can be a very therapeutic thing. And this to me is more therapy than sitting in a room talking to somebody that I don't know, that understands only because a book said so.
Yeah, I feel you on that because, I mean, only a month in, we did our first, donation with Loungefly to Chalk Hospital. And since then, people are like, how do you do it? Like, it's been so fresh, so recent. But the reality is, like, I feel Luna the strongest in what I do, in Luna's Everglow. Um, I've even gone back to the hospital. That was hard in itself, where she passed, but it was to advocate for parents, to be there for children. I do sometimes hospital visits, and the social worker's like, "Are you okay?" Because I think this one was, was helping the mom understand because she didn't have the language, the prognosis of her child, and it wasn't good. Um, and I somehow kept it together. I didn't break down. And they're like, "Are you okay? Like, we care about you too. Like, it's important for you." I'm like, "Luna just passed." And I'm like, "I'm fine." Like, I feel like it is therapeutic for me. It's like a way that, because I was with Luna all the time. It's a way to kind of me transfer what I did for her to the foundation and to other kids and families. So it's rewarding in that way of it helps me a lot. It fills my cup and it brings me a little bit of light to be able to do this for other families, even though I still cry every night. Um, but it is very therapeutic and comforting to help other families. And that's why, even though we're only 10 and a half months in, I continue to do it. Um, I don't know. I love as I don't get anything in return of it, like, monetary, but it fills my cup, and that's what is important. And I truly feel like I'm making a change in these kids' life, even though if it's for a moment, if I can make them smile with Luna's Everglow, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and that's what's the most important. And I think you said it, and I've said it in the past too, that the only not reward, but the only return that we get is I will a lot of times get pictures from families, or I'll get social media posts or something like that about when we send something out or
Yeah,
from the hospital, and that's all we want.
yeah.
I have a real issue with organizations that are nonprofit and take salaries. I think that's the complete opposite of what you're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
100% of what we do, 100% of what we take in goes right back out. If
Mhm.
we're raising money for our event, that money is being donated. If we're
Mhm.
raising money for CureFest, that's so that we can be there to advocate and share our stories and meet incredible organizations, incredible people, and make a difference. If we're raising money for Christmas, that's for money to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
That money goes. That's it. We don't keep any of that. Believe me, if we could do this and make a salary, then that would be wonderful,
Mhm.
because then you wouldn't have to work 2 and 3 jobs in order to run a nonprofit. But
Yeah.
I just think it takes away from what you're really supposed to
Mhm.
be doing, and I have a real true issue with that. And I've called people out on it before,
Mhm.
and it's not. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It freaks me out. It weirds me out. I don't like it.
Mhm.
And the whole point is supposed to be giving back and supposed to be
Yeah.
helping people.
And
And
fundraising is hard.
yeah,
It's hard. And I know people will probably be like, every time I do a fundraiser, oh, here goes Coral asking for money again. But I'm not asking it for me. Like, even when Luna was in the fight, I think we posted our GoFundMe one time and that was it. People asked for the link. Oh, here's the link. But I never really asked. Now I do ask for the foundation, but this is for other families, so I can make those changes in other families. And yes, 100% goes back into what we do. And if we did a fundraiser and it went really well, that overflow, if there is any, goes into the next thing that we do, or it gives me opportunity to send a child to Disneyland, or do something small, or a birthday, whatever it is. But I think people need to understand that we're not keeping it. It's going back into the mission of each foundation, and it's important. Like, if you can't donate, always share. That's the biggest thing I think that you can do, because you someone that follows you, it could fall into a different eyes that haven't seen it, and maybe that's a potential person that can donate and really make a difference in if we can do more events or help more children. It's important for people to understand that, because it's hard.
yeah. Just so everybody knows, fundraising sucks. It is horrible, and especially when you are raising money, and just as the most the basic of words for sick children. It is hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because people don't want to be associated with it or if they just want to pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But fundraising in this realm is very difficult. Now, some people have found a niche and they found, things like that. But when you're just doing it locally and you're doing it on social media, and that's how you spend a lot of time trying to bring in money for your organization, it is hard. It is very hard. And sometimes you do really well. Sometimes, you're like, okay, I did really well this year. Next year is going to be great. And then next year sucks. And it's hard. And, we do certain things every year, and it's the same thing that we have the same group of people that help us every single year. And we love them with all of our hearts because they've helped us so much. But we wish that the community would grow and take some of the weight off of those people to help us out. Because what we do is, again, like you said, it's not for us. We're not keeping any of this money. Believe me, if I thought that I could fundraise this way and never have to work a day in my life, well, then wouldn't anybody?
Yeah.
But no, we don't keep any of this money. It goes away. We give it away essentially to whether it's to events or to research or packages or whatever. We're just doing it for somebody else because that's what and to be told we can't donate money to you because you're essentially a third party because you're giving the money away. What the hell? I mean, but okay, then are you going to turn around and donate that money to the organization we were going to send it to? Then, you know what I mean? It's that is, or that your, let's see, that your you don't line up with their giving priorities. I'm still trying to figure that one out. That's a quandary I don't understand. And mainly I'll put it this way. Kids and children are at the center of everything. And I say that because even if you are a defense company, if you are a health product company, if you are a soap company, without these kids, there will not be anybody else to sit in those boardrooms in 20 years. There will not be anybody else to vote you into office. There will not be anybody else to use your products. If you do not protect the most incredible and valuable asset that we have, there will be nothing left for you to donate later on, and you will not have a position either.
Yeah, it's like they say the government and everybody says our children are our future, but actions don't match up to that. It doesn't seem or doesn't their actions are not matching up to, if our children are our future, then what are we doing here? Why aren't we doing more for them? Why aren't we pushing more? Because it's a problem.
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue, and I think, and I have an incredible idea that I've been working on for a while now. And tomorrow I have a teleconference call with my governor's office, and I'm dreading the responses that I get to this about how they can't support it or won't support it. And it is an idea that makes sense for our state, but could make sense for so many other states as well. And I just don't know. Like, I'm waiting for the ideas. I mean, we blew it up the other day on social media about the kind of crap that gets signed in this state or in any state, these bills that people put their names on or sponsor. And every single one of these politicians at some point in their campaign, I guarantee it, said, we want to protect kids, we want better schools, whatever. It's something to do with children, okay? It doesn't matter how it is. But now that they're in there, they don't give a damn. And it's and how they can also tie something back into children on every bill that has nothing to do with it is also amazing to me. But I don't get it. It's really kind of a cool trick, but I don't understand it. And so I think that this is something that makes a lot of sense. And if you have a governor or a politician that truly cares about their state as much as they say they do, that you should be doing everything to protect everybody in it and the future of it. Like, I don't understand it.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, 100%. Actions need to match up to their words, and to this day they don't.
No, there's far too much speaking, around the bush and things like that, we'll do this, that, and this, that later and all that. And you end up, you never get the phone calls and never return and you're kind of pushed to the side again, and you sit and you really just kind of question and wonder what is truly important if
And
it's
you
not our
firsthand know
children.
this because you've done a lot of like lobbying, a lot of, JC's law, so you know firsthand how truly their actions don't match up to what they say in their campaigns, and that sucks.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. I don't, I just will never understand it. And as much as you're told no, the reasons are always, well, if I support you, I've got to support them. It's like, no, no, you don't.
Mhm.
You support what you want to support. That's kind of the idea of choice, right? It's
Mhm.
just because you said yes to me doesn't mean you have to say yes to their campaign. But at the same time, if you have to say yes to them, then I say, then if they're not getting off of their ass and going and doing the work that I'm doing, then I really don't care. That
Mhm.
doesn't bother me. And it's not that their campaign's not important or their cause is not important, but go out and do the work.
Yes.
And if you go out and do the work and you knock on the doors and they say yes, well, then fantastic for you.
Mhm.
But I don't, when you're lobbying for your own cause and your own campaign, that's what you're there for. Much like when I say, when you're in the doctor's office, you are their only patient at that moment. You advocate your
Mhm.
cause, you advocate your choices, your questions at that moment. I don't care what he's got to do the rest of the day.
Yeah.
You're here right now.
Mhm.
And it's the same way with lobbying Congress and your senators and congressmen, is that at that moment, you are their appointment. You are their
Mhm.
constituent. They listen to you. If they're late for something, oh well.
Yeah.
So that's my rant on that. I could go for hours when it comes to politics because these people all drive me nuts. But um, come hell or high water, I promised JC that I would get something done for the future of
Mhm.
this country and for all of these kids, and I will get it done. And until that day, the mission is not complete. So
Yeah.
that is my goal with that, and I will not stop until it's done.
I think you're doing amazing. I think everybody sees how much you're pushing, and you're not taking no. And if you do take the no, you find a different way. And that's admirable. And it's something that we could all learn from.
And I appreciate that. I think that it's a lot of times you feel like you're kind of banging your head against the wall and nobody's really listening or no one's really seeing it. Um, but it's nice to know that what I am doing, whether I feel it's small or large, I think is being seen.
Hmm.
And even if people take note of what's happening, then that's a positive move because that's more people that are willing to support what we're doing in the long run, which will then ultimately create the change that we hope for.
Yeah, I agree. Mhm.
So that's a lot that we put in there. Is there anything else you would like to add in the end here?
Just I guess reiterating the fact of don't turn away when we tell our children's story. The reality is that, like both JC and Luna are not here anymore. So everything that we do is not just to keep their legacy, here and carry their legacy, but it's to help every child that's currently fighting, every child that's going to have to fight that doesn't know it yet. And I know you might think we're annoying at some point, but if you think that, then we're doing our job because we're not going to shut up. We're not going to back down because we lost our child to this and we know how precious life is and we want it to stop. So don't turn a blind eye to it. Don't push us aside. Really listen and share and get the word out there because it's important. And I'll say it again, we are louder together.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And the more voices we have, the harder it's going to be for them to tell us no at some point. Annoying is part of my campaign. That's definitely something that I use, and being able to travel, close enough to our capital and literally knock on doors and walk into offices. I will do it all day, every day until something happens.
Yeah,
And if you're getting to the point where you're getting tired of me, well, then I'm doing my job. And
yeah, exactly.
that's you have to make people feel uncomfortable, unfortunately, to make them listen, and that's just part of it. So I will keep at it, and we will keep fighting together, and we will keep making differences on our own end, and we will Um, I'm excited to see what the future is going to bring. I wish that friendships like this didn't have to start under these circumstances,
I agree.
but what we're going to be able to do in our children's name, I think, is going to be far more impactful. And our children in short 4 years, 8 years left an impact on this world that
Hmm.
I think we're still yet to see the full spectrum of it.
Yeah,
So
I agree. So,
So that was
mhm.
amazing. I appreciate you coming on here and talking with me, and we'll definitely do more of these. But I want to thank you once again, Coral, for coming on and giving me your insight and allowing me to share this with the world.
Thank you for having me on here and trusting that I wasn't gonna mess up.
Absolutely fine. Thank you so much, and everybody, we will see you all next week.
Thank you.